Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping right into a totally fascinating case study. We're looking at a pretty timeless question. Why do brothers value selfless actions so deeply? Especially in our closest relationships. To really get into the nuts and bolts of how empathy works, we're going to explore this classic moral story that, honestly, just perfectly captures the whole essence of familial love. Okay, let's dive into this. What does true brotherhood actually mean? I really want you to take a second here and just ponder how you personally define a deep connection with someone. Is it, just about shared history? Is it about having each other's backs? Or is it maybe something a little quieter? Well, to figure this out, we're going to break down a really foundational story from our source material. It's one of those tales passed down through generations to illustrate the absolute core of empathy. And that brings us to the old moral story of two brothers, Adam and Karim. So, long ago, these two guys lived in a small village, and when their father passed away, he left them this modest, relatively small farm. Since they were really fair and equitable men, they made a pact. They decided that every single harvest season, they'd divide the grain they grew exactly down the middle, 50-50. So on paper, it was a perfectly equal partnership. Now, what's really interesting as we look at this comparison is the clear contrast in their life situations. This is where we see the different variables that drive their internal motivations. On one side, you've got Adam. He's married. He's got kids. He has dependents counting on him. But on the other side, we have Karim, who is entirely single. So they're sharing the exact same amount of grain, but their daily lives, their literal burdens, and their responsibilities, they look completely different. Right? And that stark difference in lifestyle, that is exactly what led to the secret of the harvest. You see, despite their super strict 50-50 split of the grain during the day, there was this secret empathy at play in their minds. Each brother, looking at the other's situation from the outside, privately believed that the other brother truly needed more grain just to survive and thrive. They weren't obsessing over what they possessed, they were entirely focused on what the other might need. Let's actually look at Adam's perspective first. He'd look over at Karim and think, my brother is alone. He needs this more than I do. It's just such a warm, incredible way to view the situation, right? Instead of thinking that his own large family meant he had to, hoard all the resources, Adam viewed Karim's solitary status as a vulnerability. He literally saw being alone as something that required extra support, extra care, and, extra grain. And this brilliantly illustrates the mirrored selflessness in the story. Because Karim, the single brother, was thinking the exact opposite. He'd look at Adam and say, my brother has a family to feed. He deserves more. Karim didn't view Adam's family as some sort of competitive advantage. No, he saw it as a heavier burden for his brother to bear. The empathy here is just perfectly symmetrical. Both of these men are looking at the exact same situation and concluding that the other guy is the one who deserves the extra help. So how did they actually act on this? Well, they ended up developing a rather sneaky nightly routine. Step 1, wait for nightfall. Step 2, secretly carry a heavy sack of grain over to the other brother's barn. And step 3, wake up the next morning with the exact same amount of grain you started with. It is just this sweet, hilarious irony. For many nights under the cover of darkness, these two were just running back and forth, unknowingly replacing the exact sack of grain they had just given away. It's basically the world's most wholesome treadmill. But come on, a secret routine like that? It can't stay hidden forever. The nightly puzzle finally came to a head. Just imagine the narrative tension here for a second. It's a super quiet, moonlit night. Both brothers wait for it to get dark. Both brothers hoist a heavy sack of grain onto their shoulders, and as they're walking down that dark, narrow dirt path that connects their barns, boom, they bump right into each other. In that instant, dropping their sacks right there in the moonlight, it all clicked. They looked at the grain spilled on the path, they looked at each other, and they instantly realized what had been happening for all those nights. It's absolutely the emotional climax of our case study. They didn't even speak. They honestly didn't need to. They simply fell into an embrace with tears in their eyes, just profoundly moved by the realization of how deeply they were loved by one another. Let's move to and see how this builds into something even bigger. Because this story, it didn't just stay between Adam and Karim. When the villagers heard about this beautiful act of mutual deception, they were absolutely inspired by the brothers' love and selflessness. So in response, the community actually went ahead and built a place of honor, a monument, on the exact spot on that dirt path where the brothers had collided in the moonlight. The villagers established a standard that has seriously rippled through time, declaring that true wealth is found in love, not gold. And I want to just pause here and connect this directly back to you. Think about your own modern life, your career, your bank account, and your family relationships. In a world that constantly pushes us to accumulate more and more for ourselves, how often do we actually apply this village's standard of true wealth? How often do we measure our success by what we secretly give away rather than what we publicly keep? So, the crucial point is, what's the ultimate moral we can draw from this? True brotherhood, and the reason why brothers value selfless actions so deeply, is about putting someone else's happiness before your own. It's not about a strict 50-50 split on a spreadsheet. The true mechanics of empathy reveal that a voluntarily shared burden builds a way stronger bond than shared wealth. It's about that intrinsic, totally selfless desire to ensure the other person is safe, secure, and happy, even if it comes at a perceived cost to yourself. Which leads us to our final thought, and a question I really want to leave ringing in your ears today. Who are you secretly carrying grain for in your own life? Like, who is the person you are willing to burden yourself for in the dark, without any expectation of praise or reward in the light? I challenge you to think about that person today. And hey, maybe find a way to carry an extra sack of grain for them tonight. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.